Raised beds are a really great time saver, and they're my preferred method for vegetable gardening. What they do is they eliminate a lot of the labor that comes from having to till, furrow, and prep your ground every year. I have 5 little kids, and so my schedule is such that time savings is so important to me. They also Raised beds also create a really great environment for growing because they allow you to bring in quality soil to grow in rather than fighting your native soil. So like I said, especially for growing vegetables, good soil will make such a difference in the results you can get. They're also really excellent in keeping off weeds and for places that might experience drainage problems. There really is no easier garden than raised beds in full sun with optimal soil and automated water. You can basically plant and then leave your garden to do its thing until it's harvest time. You'll generally have very little weeding and maintenance. The cons to raised beds is that raised beds can be sometimes impractical, especially on a larger scale. And some enjoy the old method of creating furrows, tilling, and flood irrigating, and working in their native soil. My mom is one of those people. It's what she's done since she was a little girl, and that's what she prefers. She just likes to be in her native soil. They're all Raised beds are also the most expensive route initially. So that's also one of the cons to them is that there's just a lot more setup to get going. Um, but once they're set up, they might save you some money just over time due to their lack of problems that they present. Raised beds don't need to be deep. You can determine what you like. One of the methods is to do taller raised beds and then lay plastic underneath before you fill them. The idea here is to cut off the roots getting to any of the native soil, therefore only exposing plants to the healthy soil in the beds. This is more along the lines of container gardening. My personal preference is to not put plastic under my beds, which some gardeners would feel like is you just shouldn't do that. But um if I'm creating a bed over grass, I might put down cardboard first to make sure the grass dies underneath. But I like to not cut off the bottom of mine because I find that the roots they will tend toward the better soil above either way, but I like to give my plants the very best chance for deep, deep roots. So cutting off the native soil underneath doesn't appeal to me. So I choose not to do it, but it's kind of up to you what you prefer. I will say that putting a tarp underneath um, is considered a little more water wise, um, to requiring a little bit less water. But also, if you have wind exposure, I wouldn't recommend it because your roots will not be able to get deep supporting against the wind. So, anyway, just pros and cons there, but different methods to consider. There are lots of great potting soils that you can use to fill your raised beds. Again, this is one of the big pros to raised beds. So make sure that you invest in your soil and really bring in the best soil for your raised beds. The optimal soil recipe for pots and raised beds is an even 3-part mixture of compost, peat moss, and vermiculite. If you prefer not to use peat moss, you could substitute that out for coconut coir if you prefer. But those three evenly mixed will give you the optimal nutrients, a great texture, and great retention of water. Also, you'll have very few weeds. And I keep saying this, but I'm a big believer that soil is where you want to invest the most because it really will make every other aspect of gardening so much easier and help you avoid so many potential problems. Last word about it, raised beds can take a lot of forms. They can be tall and more formal and built out. They can be metal or plastic. They can be built with bricks or rocks, or they could be as simple as a few long logs laid in a rectangle. So choose a look that you like and an aesthetic that you like. They have pre-made boxes that just slip together, which can be really convenient if you're not much of a builder. But I just wanted to point out that there are a lot of different options that can fit your style.